Much as I can. Now, in Canada, it's still not easy to spend Bitcoin everywhere. So to say I'm 100% Bitcoin, in some places you could be in some of these circular economies. It's hard to do that completely here. But there's something called the blockchain trilemma, that decentralization, security, and scalability, and you choose two of three. So Bitcoin's solved decentralization and security. And still today, if you measure it by anything, by mining, hash power, energy backing the network, all of those rationale, you can see that it's the only thing that's decentralized and secure, and it's getting more and more decentralized and secure every year.
In just 7 months, roughly 236 days, the crypto economy has surged by $623 billion. Bitcoin, the leading crypto asset, saw its market value increase by over $20,000, while Ethereum, the second largest by market cap, rose by $473. Between January 1st and August 24th, 2024, the crypto market experienced a 36% boost in net value, with significant inflows driving this growth. Tether, USDT, also climbed in valuation from $91.70 billion to $117.75 billion. Against this backdrop of rapid growth, podcaster Paula spoke with Jeff Booth, a well-known author and advocate for Bitcoin. Booth emphasized the importance of early adoption in the Bitcoin ecosystem, arguing that although the market is expanding, it remains in its infancy. He discussed the significance of security and decentralization, and the challenges from competing cryptocurrencies. Sharing his experience using Bitcoin in Canada, Booth urged more daily use of Bitcoin, suggesting that broader adoption could change market dynamics, where people currently rush into traditional assets like real estate. He illustrated this by saying if he had exchanged his property for 300 Bitcoin years ago, it would now be worth only 22 Bitcoin. Booth believes greater adoption will encourage vendors to accept Bitcoin, further accelerating its growth. Watch clips from the interview for further insights into Jeff Booth's interview. Please like this video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on post notifications for more content. Enjoy the video.
I don't assign or I don't judge anybody for doing the thing that they want to do. And if somebody wants to use all their Bitcoin, Troy Cross, a good friend of mine, tells a story that and I love this story, he wanted alpaca socks. And I think the alpaca socks were 20 Bitcoin per socks. And he bought 5 or 6 sets of alpaca socks. This going back a long time ago because he wanted to use Bitcoin. Now, those are really expensive socks now, like $5 million socks. And it's a great story. Same as the pizza story, same as somebody selling a bunch of Bitcoin for a house. So this transition is all determined by whenever you think that you want whatever you want. And you should be able to do whatever you want when you want with the transition. So because sometimes it's not a financial decision, it's for your family decision, or whatever that decision is, why you spend in the first place, and you should be able to make it for whatever you want. But now if you take a look at your house as an example, as we know inside the manipulated system that because money loses value and houses lose money less fast, it's moved, instead of being a currency, a house is now a store of value. So if it acts as a store of value and nobody can find their way out of manipulated money, so everybody races into the store of value, the house loses what it used to be, a utility to raise your family, and it becomes a store of value. And we're really early in Bitcoin adoption. Like, even this conversation is going to blow people's brains that aren't as deep. So we're really early in Bitcoin adoption. And so what that means is if you wanted to trade your Bitcoin for, like, if the house I'm sitting in, if I traded my Bitcoin 4 years ago, it would have cost 300 Bitcoin to buy this house. And this year, it cost 22 Bitcoin to buy this house. Even though in fiat the house has gone up in value, it costs 22 now. And in 4 years, this house will probably cost 2 Bitcoin. Now, at any time, and by the way, that's also why this constantly distributes too, because if you held a whole bunch of Bitcoin and you want to buy other things and you want to utilize this, you're going to be constantly spending above your adding value to the free market and distributing your Bitcoins. And so unlike the existing financial system, which concentrates wealth and concentrates monopolies and concentrates power in very few, this system constantly distributes that to everyone. And every single person has that choice of when they want to spend more than they consume, or spend more than they provide value of. But then the other thing is, who cares, right? I spend my Bitcoin every day. I spend on Zaps and Nostr. I spend it on, if somebody will take Bitcoin, then I will make a point to use that service or product. So I try to spend Bitcoin every day, knowing full well that it's going to be more valuable in the future, because I'm just putting my time and energy kind of where I want the world to go. Because if there's more people doing that, that means more vendors will take it, because there's a block of people that will only use those vendors, and that'll drive the acceleration of the ecosystem faster.
And just with that example, do you then put your, say, Canadian dollars back into Bitcoin? Do you have a So you're always replacing.
So I do, and then I'll just buy more to replace.
Jeff Booth shared his experiences with Bitcoin, noting that while it has gained traction in certain areas, its global acceptance remains limited. He passionately urged others to embrace Bitcoin and decentralized technologies, emphasizing that decentralization and security are crucial pillars for building a resilient and trustworthy monetary system. Booth also highlighted the shortcomings of other cryptocurrencies, arguing that many sacrifice security or decentralization in their quest for scalability. In his view, Bitcoin stands apart by maintaining these core principles without compromise. He expressed confidence that as the Bitcoin protocol continues to evolve, new functionalities will emerge, further enhancing its capabilities and solidifying its position as the cornerstone of a future financial ecosystem. Let's go back to the interview and watch more clips to gain insights from Jeff Booth.
Much as I can. Now, in Canada, it's still not easy to spend Bitcoin everywhere. So to say I'm 100% Bitcoin, in some places you could be in some of these circular economies. It's hard to do that completely here, but I have an intention to do it, and I try to where I can. And when I'm traveling in a lot of these places, I absolutely use it as a primary. And probably more so, I think in those terms. And if you wanted in thinking like this is a light switch for one day I'm in this system and then the next day I'm going to move to the other system, I wouldn't think about that if you're listening to this podcast, don't think you have to do that. Just take steps. Right? If you're not running a node right now, learn to run a node. If you're not on Nostr, go on Nostr and start to communicate and see what it looks like, decentralized, secure, and true freedom technology. If you're wanting to meet other people that are doing that, go to some meetups. You'll see an explosion of opportunity.
Why are all altcoins going to zero?
Yeah, and I think for that article I wrote, Finding Signal in a Noisy World, describes it in a better way than I can I would like it just really quickly. But there's something called the blockchain trilemma, that decentralization, security, and scalability, and you choose two of three. So Bitcoin's solved decentralization and security, and still today, if you measure it by anything, by mining, hash power, energy backing the network, all of those rationale, you can see that it's the only thing that's decentralized and secure, and it's getting more and more decentralized and secure every year. But it had a problem that it couldn't scale. So imagine you don't have to imagine very hard, right? You're living in a world measuring Bitcoin, and from the world that you're measuring from, the fiat instrument, and Bitcoin from that looks like it's going crazy in price, when it's really, we're just repricing the entire world into Bitcoin. But you can't do anything on it. By the way, that is its utility. The utility is it captures the entire monetary value, monetary premium of all the financialization of the world and restores it to humanity. So when people say it has no utility, Interesting. So it's only has the biggest utility ever seen to anything, and people are saying it has no utility. But if you actually saw it that way, and it was actually truly outside of the system and repricing the world, then inside that environment, to a whole bunch of people that were gambling, right, or saying I'm going to make more US dollars, it would look like I need to create a new Bitcoin because I can't change Bitcoin. So I'm going to create scalability, and I'm going to sacrifice either decentralization or security to do it. And all of those other coins sacrifice either decentralization or security to achieve scalability, and then the entire thing fails in time, because why would you use a centralized blockchain? Because really what you're saying there is, I'm going to use an expensive database that I control. And then and how could there be DeFi on top of a centralized that's in an expensive blockchain? So just on the basis of it can't. The other ones can't work on the basis of what I just described. Now the article goes way deeper than that, and it's important to do that, to look at that or review that article. But you could see even well-intentioned people on top of that, thinking they could bring more utility to something that had to stay decentralized and secure. Remember, humans have never seen a money that didn't get co-opted. So now you have to imagine the type of pressure that would come after Bitcoin to try to co-opt it. So decentralization and security are critical. And then by acting as a protocol, other things get built on top of the protocol. So other functionality emerges in time on top of the protocol.
Bitcoin maintained its recent gains over the weekend, but there are numerous arguments suggesting a potential price retracement. As the August 25th weekly close approached, Bitcoin hovered around $64,000, with analysts warning that the recent gains might soon be reversed. After a sharp rise towards the end of the previous Wall Street trading session, Bitcoin remained relatively flat over the weekend. The initial boost was driven by optimistic signals from the United States Federal Reserve, which hinted at a potential policy easing in September, specifically the first interest rate cuts since 2019. At first, Bitcoin was slow to respond to these signals, but it eventually surged to two-week highs of nearly $65,000 before consolidating at a lower level. This price behavior aligns with Booth's assertion that market movements, including those of Bitcoin, are heavily influenced by central bank policies and investor sentiment. Booth highlights that such gains are often precarious, with the potential for rapid reversals based on changes in economic conditions or policy expectations. The recent price action of Bitcoin illustrates how external economic cues, particularly from influential institutions like the Federal Reserve, play a critical role in shaping investor behavior and market trends. Consequently, while Bitcoin saw a temporary boost, the underlying factors driving its price remain vulnerable to shifts in broader economic policy and sentiment, underscoring Booth's view on the market's sensitivity to macroeconomic dynamics. As we conclude, what are your thoughts on this interview? What steps will you take to join the growing Bitcoin ecosystem and promote decentralized technologies? We would love to hear from you. Please drop your thoughts in the comments below, share this video, and hit the thumbs up button if you enjoyed it. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to subscribe for more insightful contents.